now, thanks to Senate Bill 1383, if you are in the state of Texas, I feel like the industry is safer, and I feel it's going to be more transparent than ever.
Welcome to Aging in Style with Lori Williams, the podcast all about finding the silver lining no matter what life throws your way. I'm Lori Williams, an award-winning senior living expert, author, educator, and caregiver to my husband, Mark. Join me as I share insights, tips, and personal stories to help you navigate the world of senior housing, discover ways to pay for care, advocate for your loved ones, and most importantly, learn how to thrive, not just survive, as you age.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Aging in Style. Today, we're talking about some big changes in the senior placement industry happening here in Texas. So these are changes that were long overdue. The changes are specific to Texas only. So if you're in another state, it's not going to affect your state at this point. Maybe it will down the road. If you're wondering what the heck is a senior placement agency, I will give you a little information. So my actual business, what I do besides the podcast I do to share information on aging, on inspirational seniors, all of that stuff, I share that through everywhere. It goes all over the country. My actual business, though, is based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It is a senior placement business or referral service, sometimes called, and we are a free service for seniors and their families. We help them either figure out how they're going to stay home with some assistance, or if it's time to transition into a senior living community, we help them do that. So it is free to them, but we do get paid, and we are paid by the community. So say a senior apartment, independent living, assisted living, memory care, residential care homes, all the different types of senior living, those are the types that we contract with. And if we move someone there, so say you contact us, you need to move grandma into assisted living, we talk to you, we figure out which communities are going to be the best for your grandma. We send you 2 to take a look at, and you decide on the first one, move her in. Well, once she moves in, we get paid. And so you never pay a dime. But that is how we're able to do all that we do and keep it a free service for families. So great idea. I would love to tell you I came up with this idea, but I did not. Placement services started probably, I'm going to guess, about 25 years ago. And it was a large national company came up with this great idea because, it is a great idea, and it saves people lots of time. It keeps them from being overwhelmed and stressed. And it's a great idea, great business plan. But it was started by this national placement company. They are primarily on the internet, whereas what I do is similar to them, but on a local basis. I only cover Dallas-Fort Worth. The ladies who work with me, we are, in the communities. We're visible locally. We do a lot of things within the different senior living communities. So that's how it's a little different. But let's talk a little bit about this bill. So on June 20th, 2025, the state of Texas officially passed Senate Bill 1383, which adds some very much needed oversight and accountability to senior placement services. And why was this necessary? Because unfortunately, not everyone who's come into the space has been doing things the right way. So when I started my company, there were maybe 3 or 4 people in all of Dallas-Fort Worth, which is a huge metroplex that were doing placement. I couldn't even tell you how many now are into senior placement. I don't know. So there's franchises that have come in, and I believe people are doing this because a heart for seniors, but I do also see that it's a little bit willy-nilly with some people. And, I think it is time that they did something to make sure that there are some checks and balances and we're holding people accountable, because we are helping seniors who are vulnerable, right? And we want to make sure that we serve them well. So in recent years, we have seen many, many people come into this. I kind of feel like, and this may be a bad analogy, but I feel like it's sort of like the Wild West. Like all these people are coming in, and every time you turn around, it's like, I'm doing placement and I'm doing placement and I'm doing it part-time and I'm doing it this. And it's been a lot of people coming into it. Maybe it's their side gig or whatever. However they're doing it, there needs to be, as I said, checks and balances. Referring families to communities, you need to verify licensing of the community. You need to know their reputation. There's a lot to know. It's not just like, here, I heard this place was good, I'm sending you over there. That's not how it works at all. And then there's been confusion for families about working with placement services. So for an example, the large national company, if you were to go on, say you want to see an assisted living that's down your street for your dad. You Google it, you think you're looking at the assisted living down your street, but what you don't notice is right underneath it has the name of this national placement service. And that's who you end up calling. And then they're sending you out to a whole bunch of places. And that's not what you wanted at all. You really wanted to work with a local person. Well, then you're sort of locked in and you didn't realize it. And your info is being sent out to lots of communities and you have no clue what's going on. So that's why one of the things that this bill is addressing, and full disclosure on what is happening with your information is needed. And, I think this is all important because I think we're putting seniors at risk and we don't want to put seniors at risk. So let's talk about Senate Bill 1383 and what it requires now. So this is what it has put in place for referral agencies, senior placement services. They're kind of interchangeably called the same thing like ours. So number one, they are requiring criminal background checks on anyone employed by the agency who works with seniors and their families. Number two, proof of liability insurance to protect families and consumers and yourself as a business. So I think that is very important for all businesses, even if you are a small business, very important to have liability insurance. Yeah, it's not cheap, but it could cost you a lot more in the long run. So very important, and I think it's good that they're requiring that. Number three, a system to document and verify that any of the senior living communities that we are referring people to holds a valid license and is in good standing. And we have ways that we can check that, and we do that in my company already. Number four, agencies now must disclose how they get paid and how they're compensated by the different communities. So most of the agencies in Texas, I think, do a flat rate, but there are others that do like a percentage. So there's different ways that they are paid. But the main thing is we need to disclose and make sure that the families we're working with know that they don't have to pay a dime and that, yes, we do get paid, and this is how we get paid. So, it's important because there's a lot of vagueness about that. And I've had many families, I've even said to them, hey, we're a free service. And before I get into how we're free, they're like, well, how can you run a business for free? So, it is, there's no free ride, right? So people are always a little skeptical of how it works. So it is 100% free for the senior and their family, but we do get paid if you decide on a community and we move you there. Let's see, where were we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5, consumers must be informed that they are free to stop using a referral service at any time without penalty. So that goes back to the example I gave of looking up a community and you get connected with a large placement service and then you're kind of stuck with them and you didn't mean to do that. So now, you're allowed to say at any time, hey, I don't want to work with you. Thank you, but we're not a good fit. I want to go work over with this other person, and that's fine. So that's getting the information out to families. And this bill does that, protects them, lets them know that they have rights. Even though they're not paying us anything, they don't have to work with us if they feel like they want to work with someone else. And the consumers then are, like I said, they're free to stop at any time. They can just say, I don't want to work with you. And then number 7, also very important, now requires that a disclosure goes out, lets the client know that the list of communities that we're providing them may not include every option that is available in the area. And what that means is sometimes there's a community that maybe we are not contracted with, maybe they don't work with placement services, or maybe we prefer not to work with them because we don't think they're a good fit for people. So now in our disclosure, we do need to let customers know that there is a place down the road from you, but we didn't put it in there. And, but you're still welcome to go and look at it. So what does this all mean for you as the consumer? Here's what you would need to know as a family looking for senior living. So you're looking for something for your mom or dad. Not all placement agencies are created equally. There are so many different types and different ways that people are running them. Number 2, you have the right to choose who you want to work with. This is your journey. So you can at any time say, I am not vibing with this agency. I want to work with someone else. Number 3, our service is always free to you. You will never be charged by a referral service, placement service. We are paid, as I said, by the community if and only if your loved one moves in. And 4, you should feel empowered to ask any agency these questions. Do you run background checks? Are you insured? How do you confirm licensing? And are you recommending this community because it's the best fit or just because they pay you? And I have had people ask me that question, and sometimes it kind of irritates me because I'm kind of like, no, I am referring to you places that I feel would be the very best fit. But when I step back, I get it. They don't know me. They don't know my heart, and that I'm truly in this for the right reasons and to do the right thing. But you know what? It's okay. You can ask that question to people and they can tell you the truth. So for a good example for me is there is a Catholic senior living community not far from me, and they don't work with placement services. But if I have someone call me and they say, listen, my mom wants a place where she can go to mass every day and she needs this and this and that, and I'll tell them about it because that's the right thing to do. And I don't want to get paid knowing that I did not give someone the correct and best information to meet their needs. And everyone in placement should feel the same way. So I do want to say how my company has always operated. We have been doing all of this, long before this law came about. So I am happy to see that they're going to have other people, it's going to be enforced, other people will be doing it. So we've always carried the liability insurance. We personally verify each community is licensed and in good standing. We go beyond that. We are boots on the ground. We go into communities. We're local, experienced. We know which communities truly live up to their promises. We stay in touch with the families we move into communities. They tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's really important because that's the only way you can truly know. And I think most importantly, we all work from our heart. And it's because we've been there too. So I started my business based on my grandmother who had dementia. She is my inspiration. And she did not live in senior living. Well, she did live in a senior apartment at one point, but with her dementia, she could not afford to live in a memory care. And so I saw her taken care of by my mom and then my aunt, and, experienced home care and home health and hospice and all those things for her. Second, for me, I've experienced this with my own husband who's had 4 strokes, and now I'm his caregiver. So I get what that looks like, trying to keep someone home, making your home safe and secure, and which is why I share so much of what I do on the podcast, because I'm living this. And third, now I'm living a new part of this. My mother and her husband are in their 80s, and she called me Sunday and said she's ready for assisted living. Now she's out of state, so I'm coordinating this, calling communities. Luckily, I had been visiting a couple of years ago, and thankfully for this foresight, I went and toured an assisted living that I thought looked very nice, and it is, and indeed probably will be the one they move to. But I called them, and then my brother, who's there in the same state as they are, went and toured it today. And so we're kind of working this out right now for my mom and her husband. They're going to tour it tomorrow. So I get it. I get what it's like. And the funny thing is, it's a different feeling each time. So it's one feeling when it was my grandmother. It was a whole different feeling for my husband. And now it's another whole feeling for my mom and her husband. And it's like, it's not a good feeling. It's just like, this has to be done. But it's also kind of like a little bit sad, because this is where life is taking us now. But I want them to be safe. And everyone that I've helped, I want them to be safe and in the best place for them, where they are thriving and living their very best life. Okay, that's what I have to say. So if you are navigating this process, just take a deep breath. I'm talking to myself here. I feel like I got breathless just then. You are not alone. And now, thanks to Senate Bill 1383, if you are in the state of Texas, I feel like the industry is safer, and I feel it's going to be more transparent than ever. So I hope I did a good job explaining what this new bill is about and what we do as senior placement services. And if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you need some help, we're always here to help you. And as I said, it is a free service for you. You can find us on my website, which is LoriWilliams-seniorservices.com. You can always send us an email, contact us through there. I think our phone number, everything's on there. You can find us. And then also all of our podcasts, every episode is listed on the website. There's some really good blog posts. We try to put a lot of good information out there. So be sure to check it out, okay? And if you need help, contact us. And I also want to say, please share this podcast episode with your friends, family, neighbors. I think it's really good information. Anything on the podcast, if you have someone who has an aging loved one in their life, I feel like the podcast is great for them to learn. And knowledge is power. And when you come into this and you're trying to figure out what to do, it's so overwhelming. So to have a little knowledge and a little understanding makes a huge difference. So thanks for tuning in. And until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and keep sharing the podcast with everyone. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.